Thanks, Madam President. I don't like to detain members at the end of a sitting day, but since we are commencing tomorrow at the leisurely hour of 10 a.m. while we're in a state of emergency, I thought I would make a few remarks tonight, since we're not in any mad rush. Now, Madam President, there's a couple of issues of clutter today that require me to make a member statement to the House. On the 24th of March, Tuesday of last week, the Premier of Western Australia announced his intention to consider introducing regional travel bans. Later that same week, on the Thursday, the 27th of March, he committed to introducing such a travel restriction, and during his press conference, which I observed, he said that he would provide plenty of detail ahead of time so that people could be aware of the detail of his plan. Now, that was Thursday of last week. Now, as I said in the debate this morning, my office, and I'm sure other offices have been inundated since last week with inquiries in relation to this proposed direction, and now direction. And I said to my constituents that, I'd listen to the Premier. He said he'd give people plenty of notice. And I said to them that we'd probably have something as late as Monday, the day before, that the direction would come into effect. So, which was midnight last night. Now, Monday obviously came and went, and we got to Tuesday, the first sitting day of the week, and the National Party, the leader of the National Party in the Legislative Assembly at 2 p.m. rose and asked a question of the Premier, asking him where his regional travel ban direction is. Of course, we didn't get an answer. We reached close of business yesterday, and then early yesterday evening, the State Emergency Coordinator signed a direction at 17:15 hours. Now, that's only some hours before the direction came into effect at 23:59 hours yesterday. Now, for those members who have had a chance to look at it, the directions are extensive. They're some 6 pages long, so some considerable drafting has gone into them. Now, my first observation is that they were very detailed and very prescriptive, and that there were also some obvious omissions based on the inquiries that I'd had from my office to my office in the days leading up to the announcement of the direction, or the publishing of the direction. Now, this morning, Madam President, I woke to a raft of text messages, phone calls, and then upon checking social media, a number of posts were starting to arrive in relation to a checkpoint. We're not allowed to call it a roadblock, a checkpoint between Mushay and Gingin. Now, members who might not be familiar with the area, Mushay is in the Shire of Chittering, Gingin is in the Shire of Gingin. They are both wheatbelt shires. They belong to the same region, the wheatbelt. Now, I called the Police Minister's office first thing this morning, I think it was about 8:30 this morning, and said, this surely can't be right. The police have made a mistake here. We've got a roadblock / checkpoint set up within a region. And their immediate response was, yeah, that doesn't sound very good, but send us a note. And in fact, the advisor I spoke to invited me to not only send an email to the Minister's office, but to seek clarification through question time to make sure that my constituents' concerns were addressed in question time today. Now, the concerns I had with setting up a checkpoint within a region, not at a regional boundary, was that, one, the checkpoint would intercept people travelling within the region, which clearly is not the intent of the direction. The other concern I had is that it would allow people to travel beyond the checkpoint across a regional boundary without interception by the checkpoint. The other concern that I had was that it would allow somebody to say, I'm simply travelling to the next town, from Gingin to Mushay, for example, past the checkpoint and then continue on wherever they like, potentially without interception. Now, my exchange with the Minister's office was positive, informative, and I thank them for that. There was an understanding that there'd be a frequently asked questions publication released today, and when I last checked, which was only moments ago, no such frequently asked questions publication has been published. Now, as I said, I was invited to ask a parliamentary question, and that's where I want to turn my member statement to now. Now, I asked today in question time, on the invite of the Minister's office, a question to clarify a number of things. I asked why there had been a roadblock established between two wheatbelt towns in the wheatbelt. I asked about other locations where these roadblocks had been established, and I asked for confirmation that they were actually on boundaries or within proximity to boundaries, not within boundaries. And I asked two very, very important questions, which I think were omissions or that needed clarification from the direction. And I asked in the third and fourth part of this question today, what is the test that will be applied by WA Police with respect to 4E to allow people to cross a boundary for grocery shopping, notwithstanding limited supplies may be available locally? And 4, given government advice that people aged 70 and over should remain at home, can people cross a regional boundary to support elderly parents or grandparents to access basic services such as grocery shopping and to attend medical appointments? And if so, under which provision of the direction would that travel be exempt? Now, Madam President, nothing political in this question. In fact, this question was asked on the invitation of the Minister for Police's office. Nothing political to be gained here, just clarification for my constituents who are calling my office, wanting to know, wanting to make sense of this 6-page direction notice issued by the State Emergency Coordinator, Christopher John Dawson, at 17:15 hours yesterday, ahead of the direction coming into effect at 23:59 hours last night. Now, I remind members that the penalty for not complying with this direction is a fine of $50,000 for individuals and $250,000 for bodies corporate. So no, not an insignificant matter. And these are important things that people have contacted my office about. And the answer I got in this question, and now the Minister for Police is consistently bad in this regard, and I think the Minister for Environment needs to take some responsibility for the questions that he keeps delivering to this House. Now, his answer with respect to this was the state government is providing detailed information to the public via its own website, and a COVID-19 call centre is in the process of being established to assist the community in meeting their obligations under the current state of emergency. Well, that was very helpful. Very helpful to those people who are wanting to know whether they can cross a regional boundary tomorrow or tonight or the next day to do some grocery shopping, or maybe support their elderly grandmother or grandfather, or maybe a family member who's disabled. Now, I think this measure is highly questionable in the first place. We see the SES have been deployed, WA police officers have been deployed, the Salvation Army have been deployed, the ADF reservists have been deployed. I mean, I just do question whether this is the greatest use of these volunteer and paid resources in a time like this. I mean, how routinely are we actually checking people who have been forced into self-isolation or quarantine? How much effort are we placing on contact tracing? From my experience and from what I'm hearing in the region, it's very hit and miss the extent to which contact tracing is occurring.
Order.
Now,
Order, members. You may not like what you're hearing, but the member has the right to say it.
Yeah, thank you, Madam President. And just like the Minister in question time today, the Labor members who are interjecting have no interest in the concerns of my constituents either. Now, on the 1st of April, being today,
Order.
this was posted this afternoon, which exactly demonstrates the concern that I have. So this was somebody travelling within the Wheatbelt region. FYI, husband was told today at the Brand Highway checkpoint they wouldn't allow people through without a letter, even though we are travelling within our region and have proof of address. It's a shambles. Now, the Police Commissioner said in recent days that the WA Police Force would be taking a compassionate approach to the way that they enforce these interstate travel restrictions. And I think it's about time the Minister in this place representing the Minister for Police, both of those people, take some responsibility for the questions that they give, and I'll be making sure that my constituents receive the exact information that has been delivered to this House today.